All right, guys, we're back on the NFL Weekly Pick'em show. Scott Wilson, of course, being the knowledgeable junior high school teacher, actually knocked us off air, but we're back now.
Who dat?
All right, guys. So we were picking Detroit against Arizona. Arizona is 2.5 point underdogs. Brian, you took Arizona into 2.5 points. I took
No,
Detroit.
I took Detroit.
Oh, you
I
took
took
Detroit.
Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't get to the pick part. I think you were just talking about how much you like Kingsbury and them.
No,
All right.
I was saying that, I really would love to see what they can do with this offense. I don't think they have the pieces to do what he would do. But I don't like Detroit either, but I'm going to take Detroit in this game. So it's basically the microcosm of what I said before Scott knocked us off.
Yeah. All right, Scott, you want to go next since you knocked us off air?
Yes. Well, it was totally intentional on my part, you SOBs. So I think Arizona is going to win. I think you're going to see more of this offense is going to be you're going to see a lot more from Kingsbury. You got Delaire Fitzgerald, David Johnson. But I think if this gets into a high-scoring game, I mean, and just Stafford can flat. I mean, he's really good. I think Karen John's going to have a really, really good year. And I think the Cardinals, their defense is going to have their hands full. But I still think the Cardinals win by probably about 6, 7. So I'm taking the Cardinals.
All right, Matt.
I think the Lions win this straight up. I think they've got the defense to handle anything the Cardinals throw at them. Although David Johnson, I think, is a problem. But I think the Lions got enough on their team to win this game. I think they're good defensively. Matt Stafford's a good quarterback. He's not that he's a great quarterback, but he's a good quarterback. And I like Kenny Galladay. I think the Cardinals are going to have some trouble with him. And, they still got Marvin Jones Jr. And they got some pieces over there. I think the Lions win this game. I just don't think the Cardinals are very good.
All right, next up, Brian, you get to go first because it's a team near and dear to your heart. The Pittsburgh Steelers will go to New England to battle the evil empire of Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and the New England Patriots. The Patriots are favored by 5.5 points, Brian. Are you going to homer pick it like normal, or are you going to use your head?
I am going to homer pick it like usual. Even though I think New England will win, I'm going to say that Pittsburgh's going to cover.
All right. I'm going to say that New England is going to win and New England is going to cover. I mean, they're the Patriots. I mean, they seem to be pretty good every year. They're loaded at running back. I think Pittsburgh is going to challenge Baltimore to win the AFC North. You see how I left Cleveland out there? Because I think it's going to be between Pittsburgh and Baltimore because I think they may have more complete teams than Cleveland because they still have questions about the offensive line in Cleveland. I think the Patriots win this game, Scott.
I agree with you guys. I think the Patriots. Belichick's record, coaching this team in the last 12, 15 years is just ridiculous. Now if Andy Dalton was quarterback, I would definitely go with Pittsburgh, but I am going with the Patriots. I think it's going to be a close game. What did you say the spread was, Mike?
5.5.
I actually would take Pittsburgh on this and take the points.
Well, that makes me feel much better about my pick. Matt, does that help you make your pick?
It makes me feel worse because I was going to take Pittsburgh to lose, but by less than 5.5.
All
so
right.
now I don't feel so good.
All right, so I'm all by myself, but I feel pretty damn good. Next up, we've got the Houston. I almost said the Houston Oilers because I'm old. The Houston Texans will travel to New Orleans to battle the Saints. The Saints are favored by 7, Matt.
Yeah, it's a pretty good matchup. I think Deshaun Watson coming back. You got, I think, one of the top one or two receivers in football in DeAndre Hopkins. That's quite a combo. But I think the loss of Lamar Miller is going to be big. Not that Lamar Miller was one of the best runners in football, but he was good enough to take pressure off the quarterback. And now, it's going to kind of all fall on Deshaun Watson's shoulders. I think he's capable. I think with Andrew Luck not being in Indianapolis, that division's pretty open, so he'll they'll have their chances. But in New Orleans, a very difficult place to play. Drew Brees is very much like Tom Brady, kind of ageless at this point, still playing at a very high level. They got a lot of good pieces over there, and I think their defense is still pretty good. So they got a nasty taste in their mouths after the NFC Championship loss. So I think they're going to be a pretty tough team to beat, especially Week 1. So I'll take the Saints to win and to cover.
All right. Scott, you know what it's like to have a dirty taste in your mouth after a long night of partying. Who do you picking, Houston or New Orleans?
Oh, wow. That's fun. That is more true than you possibly realize. I'm going to take.
God, I hope it's not by what I was thinking. But go ahead.
That's
the same. Mike's mind.
Long time ago. I think.
Really?
So I think New Orleans. Wow. I think New Orleans' defensive line is really good. I think they're underrated. And I think they're going to really get after Deshaun Watson. I think it's home. If this was like a 9 or 10 point spread, or even a 9, it's a tough call. I think the Saints are going to win by probably 9, so I'm taking the Saints on this one. But I think I think it's going to be a really good game. It's going to be fun to watch. You know, the Texans they've got I guess they had Duke Johnson, and I think who else was it, Hyde?
Yeah,
I just think that's
I
really.
know Duke Johnson.
I think
they got.
really, okay, I think it's really
they got
hard
Duke
to
Johnson.
run. If the Texans can control the clock, if they can get if they can just churn out slower drives and keep New Orleans off it, because New Orleans offense is just they're so fun to watch. So I think the Saints win by 9.
All right, this is what I think we're missing here, because everybody talks about Tunsil going to them. That makes them a contender here, Brian. I'm taking New Orleans, giving the points because of this. Tunsil, to me, is just a better-than-average offensive tackle. And this offensive line wasn't just a mess at one position. And when you look at the Saints, you got Cameron Jordan, you got Ryan Kerrigan, Sheldon Rankins. This is a defensive line that can get after the pass rusher. They were last year. They're going to be again this year. I think the Saints win this game by 20 points or more.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Saints to cover. I agree with you. I think that they're going to be so much better. But the one thing that has been brought up that I think is so key is the fact that Brees is just ageless. This offense is so explosive. But now you're seeing things with them that they can be a better team defensively. And I just think this Saints team has the potential to definitely be a Super Bowl team coming out of the NFC, which is a crazy division. But to me, I think they're definitely one of, if not the top teams in the NFC.
All right, next up, last game of the week, we got the Denver Broncos, who right now have won 7 straight kickoff weekend games, the NFL's longest active streak. The Broncos also, as a franchise, have 499 wins, one away from 500. They play the Oakland Raiders with John Gruden, and I think at the end, the Broncos will have the better record, but I think the Raiders will win this game. And I think
What's the spread, Mike?
It's 1 point, so Oakland is getting a point. So I'm going to take Oakland in the point. That way, if it's a tie, I'll still win. Matt, what do you think?
I don't like the Raiders. I don't like John Gruden. I think he's very overrated. The Broncos, though, I just don't know if they've got enough on offense. If Derek Carr plays well, if there's enough pieces on the Raiders where they could be kind of an issue. I'm kind of leaning to your camp there, Mike, just because it's week 1. But I gotta believe by the end of the year, Gruden is just they're going to have such a bad record and everything.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think I'm going to go.
I'm going to
pick the Raiders. Yeah, I think the Raiders win week 1. Although Derek Carr is going to be under duress.
All right, Scott.
This is actually a really hard game to pick, because I think Oakland. I'm not sure how good Oakland's defense is going to be, but I think Carr. if Carr plays really well, with Antonio, I just, they can, if there's going to be a team that's going to score a lot, I think it's going to be Oakland, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm actually going to pick Denver to win this game. I don't know why. I know Flacco's days are past him, but I don't know. I just don't. I think Oakland's going to struggle to score. So I'm taking the Broncos on this one by 2 points.
All right, Brian. Very precise.
I am. I'm going to take Denver. I personally, I just think that the Raiders are going to be an absolute cluster. So much gets said about, the whole Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh and Roethlisberger and so much that went on there. But I think that we've seen more and more with this year, Antonio Brown, quite frankly, has flipped. This guy is mentally out there somewhere. And so I don't feel like they are in any way going to be a good football. I think they're going to be an entertaining show on HBO. This is just not a good football team in the locker room, and I think it's going to show out on the field. So I'm going to take Denver in this.
All right, I kind of agree with you. It's just I think for this one night on Monday Night Football, Antonio Brown will be huge, and then it will slowly peter out. I just wanted to say peter out on the air, but it'll slowly peter out as the season, gets a little bit deeper. So let's do this. Before we wrap it up, we've got to have Super Bowl predictions, and we're going to start off with Scott Wilson.
So I think a lot of people are picking Kansas City to get to the Super Bowl. I think Tom Brady has one left in him. And I think Belichick is just a master of game planning. I think they're going to beat Kansas City, but whoever has home field advantage in the AFC title game will win that game. I think New England against New Orleans, and I think New England will win probably by like 31-27.
All right, Brian?
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement there. I like New England. Right now, early on, I feel like New Orleans can be the team coming out of the NFC. But I think there's some definitely good teams in the NFC. But for this conversation right now, I think New England and New Orleans is definitely a safe pick.
All right. Matt, I know you don't want to be a safe pick, right?
It's so sad because as soon as you started this conversation, I wrote down New England, New Orleans.
All right.
So I guess I'm going safe.
I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you the Philadelphia Eagles, who I think have the best roster in football. It's just according to whether Carson Wentz stays healthy or not. Against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I had a feeling.
I don't know why.
I had a feeling you were going to take Jacksonville.
Yeah, and I don't even like Jacksonville. I mean, I like the city because we always drove through it when we were going to St. Augustine. It seemed nice, but their beaches weren't as nice as St. Augustine, so I didn't stop. And there goes any tourist, promotion from Jacksonville now. So I've killed two birds with one stone tonight. And I think I think the NFC Championship game will be the Philadelphia Eagles against the San Francisco 49ers. And I think the AFC Championship game will be the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Cincinnati Bengals. I was actually obviously just kidding
about
the AFC Championship game.
Damn it.
But I think the AFC Championship game will be Jacksonville. Well, it's got to be New England because I think for like a decade they've been to every championship game, so why would they stop now? But I like Philadelphia against Jacksonville. I got the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. And that's all we've got for tonight. Any final thoughts from Scott Wilson?
I would like to thank you all for your continued support for A.J. McCarron. Appreciate that.
What's he running for? Is he running for like dog catcher? And
I don't even know who he's playing for. I know his wife is pretty.
He's not.
He's not. We can
He's on his
actually.
team.
This is what I'm going to attempt to do. I'm going to find out who A.J. McCarron's agent is. And next week on the NFL Pickup Show, if you just want to keep doing this every week, Scott, we're going to add Anthony Servino also. But if you want to keep doing this every Tuesday, we can have you on. And one of these weeks, I will get A.J. McCarron on to pick games with us.
Hell freaking yes. Hell yes.
All right.
I love your excitement for A.J. McCarron.
Oh, my God.
So down on Andy Dalton. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I could probably get Jeff Driscoll on, too, because actually I got Jeff's phone number because I've had him on the show.
I
I love how
think,
you
I
just
think
love A.J.
think-
McCarron.
A.J. McCarron is an A-star, A-lister. Jeff Driscoll's a C-lister. Let's just keep it real for a moment.
Are you talking about wives or are you talking about players?
I'm kind of kidding there. I
You're
I would
kidding
love
a lot
to be able to
because
talk to
one
A.J.
of them's
McCarron.
still in the NFL and the other one's not.
We'll see. Again, I could be.
No,
we've
it's not
already
that
seen
we'll
he's
see,
not. It's
Scott.
already happened.
Yeah, he's not in the NFL. Jeff
not
Driscoll's
there.
still on our
I had no
roster.
idea. I really had no idea if he was in the NFL.
I think I predicted this like a year or two ago when he left Cincinnati, didn't I?
I think so too. I think I remember
Yeah.
this conversation because I know I talked. I know I. chimed in
A.J.
and said,
McCarron has the arm of a 15-year-old girl that plays.
Oh,
That might be
Only
complimenting him a little too
quarterback.
much.
You mean the
get
girl
them.
or him? Oh. What was that, Scott?
Only quarterback what?
Only quarterbacks put them in position to win a playoff game. Since
He's the
1990.
only quarterback that kept them from winning a playoff game because in the first 3 quarters of that game,
He didn't
could-
lose that
Wait,
game.
shut up. Shut up. I don't want to hear this because Brian
They didn't
Schmidt's a
win.
Steelers fan.
He said
Brian,
like my 2-year-old.
Brian, do you think that the Bengals would have been down 15-0 at the end of 3 quarters and only had 2 first downs the entire game if Andy Dalton would have been playing?
I don't think it matters who plays. I think they're hand-strong.
Sure does
with
matter.
Mike Brown.
It
I
does
think-
matter.
I
Dude,
I say that. Let
dude,
me stand
come
correct.
on. You
I'm
know
just
what?
telling you, I
Irsay's
think
won
the
a
Bengals
Super
will-
Bowl.
it-
If Jim drunken-ass Irsay has won a Super Bowl, there's no reason why Mike Brown couldn't have backed his sorry ass into one.
Well, I think having Lewis gone, I think things are different. With this coaching staff they have right now, they'd beat Pittsburgh without question. With Dalton starting.
Wait a
or
second.
A.J. McCarron.
You've got a coaching
Oh,
staff
dear
that has never coached a game together, and now they're going to beat
Like that?
Pittsburgh in a
How you like
playoff
that
game 4
statement?
years ago.
How you like
What is
that?
this, Back to the Future Part 4?
It was actually an underrated movie. That was a pretty good movie.
Actually, Back to the Future Part 4 doesn't exist as a movie. There was only 3.
It's kind of like A.J. McCarron's
Yeah.
roster status. It doesn't.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah, he's kind of like he's gonna be like Doc Brown. He's just gonna show up somewhere. Anyway,
Okay. Is he going to time travel?
We
Because
got to have
maybe-
you back.
Maybe if he goes
You
back
have to
to
come back if you
1922, he could start for the Canton Bulldogs.
just get his freaking agent on. Just get his agent on.
You want his
we have-
agent
we
on.
have to
Why don't we have
A.J.
AJ on
McCarron
instead of his
agent.
agent? Better than that, let's have
If you can
AJ's
get
wife on.
if you can get AJ on, at least somebody's in his corner then. While you all bully him, tell him I understand his needs.
Really? That
You know,
sounded
you're right. Wow.
so this is
Yeah.
going to be like college all over for you again.
Let's just maybe I don't know. No. What else is going on, guys?
We're just going to call this the Scott Wilson Show every Tuesday night.
Oh, Jesus,
This show has gone down.
It's bad. Yeah,
I'd like to
you guys
welcome
are
in
a
your
lot of fun.
co-host, A.J. McCarron.
Oh, we
Yes.
could do the Scott and AJ or the AJ and Scott show.
Oh, I would be in hog heaven. Holy hell. Oh, my God.
And next, the man who almost won a playoff game. I mean, really.
A man who got 2 first downs in the first 3 quarters of a playoff game, underthrew A.J. Green for a touchdown to give him the lead, but Scott Wilson thinks he's the greatest thing since Ken Anderson. A.J. McCarron.
I said, not that again, you're missing fake news,
Hey,
misquoting.
you know what, fake news boy? The Bengals were 10-2, and Actually, if A.J. McCarron didn't piss away the entire second half against the Denver Broncos, the Bengals would have been the number 1 seed. Never would have even had to play in a wild card playoff
Against
game.
Denver's a pretty good team.
They were?
Denver's a pretty good team.
Wait a
That's
second. The
team
Bengals
that-
came out
that's a
and
team
scored
going-
on their first 3 drives. A.J. McCarron dropped a freaking snap in the overtime, which is what lost them the game.
That was a bad moment. That was not fun.
Yeah, because
But
he
I mean,
sucks.
he played.
And
But
you
the fact
suck.
that he played. But again, he's starting against a team that's really good, and he played pretty well throughout the game.
Really? Because in the second half, he completed 2 passes. And
Well,
that's
I'm not
when
talking
it
about second half.
matters.
Listen,
Oh,
I
my
actually
God.
have zero clue. I have
How?
no clue what his
They
stats
were
were
up
that game. I have no idea.
14-0.
That was-
Never would have dreamed it was possible.
I know.
Yeah.
Pro A.J. McCarron, Andy Dalton.
Actually,
Still,
in Cincinnati, there
hilarious.
was a lot of people like that.
Listen, if Andy Dalton has a good year, I will eat my words.
No, you won't.
And yeah.
You
You're
won't.
still pro A.J. McCarron. He's not even in the league.
I
Yeah,
just
come
don't want
on.
to talk to it.
Do you think
I wanna
A.J.
talk to
McCarron
A.J.
in 4 years will make the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Schmitty, I'll let you
I
answer
wanna
that
know-
question first.
I want to know what A.J. McCarron would have done. What
I
A.J.
wanna know if
McCarron
he's
thinks
ever
A.J.
gonna be
McCarron would
playing.
do.
I want to
wanna
know
know
if
if
A.J.
he's ever gonna be
McCarron
playing
is going to
for
be
the
an
NFL again.
XFL backup or not.
Well, I want to.
There is.
I'd love to hear what really went on behind the scenes. Remember, he was viewed as a body, like they thought he was cocky, and his draft status fell. They were saying because of that.
Who,
I'd
A.J.
love to
McCarron?
hear what he. Yeah,
I think the big problem was he couldn't read a defense at all, and for you ripping on Andy Dalton and his arm strength, A.J. McCarron threw like a little girl. And
Let's
nobody
see how
on the
many
team liked him.
let's see how many critical interceptions Dalton throws this year. It's going to be. It'll be more.
You know
than
what?
five at
This
least.
is the thing. Andy Dalton will not be capable of throwing a critical interception because the Bengals suck so bad they're not going to be in a big situation to throw
Well,
a critical interception.
You know, there's a good possibility that's true.
No, there's a definite possibility that
I still think. I think they can win 9 games. I really do.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Not bad.
Jeez.
Thank you for letting me hang out with you guys. That
You're
was very
welcome.
nice.
If you want to come back next week, you can because this was fun.
All right, you got
Or
it.
painful. I'm not sure which. Schmitty, any final comments?
Yeah. My final comment is this: let's please start the NFL season off with play that doesn't look like crap and officials that don't look like crap, because it seems like the last 3 years our week 2 show becomes conversation of just how bad the play was and just how bad the officiating was, and I sure would like to see a little something different coming out the gates.
All right. Matt, got to give it to me. I picked
I
the
will.
49ers to be in the championship game.
I'm amazed, but I know you like them. I didn't think you liked them that much.
I love the
That- that
roster,
was-
dude. If I was sure about Jimmy Garoppolo, I would almost pick him to go to the Super Bowl. I still think the Eagles have a better roster than anybody in the NFL if they can keep Wentz healthy.
Yeah, at this point, I'm predicting wild card. I think they can win their first wild card game. I'm not going to go any further than that, but I do like the roster too. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year if they're healthy. But I want to second what Brian said. I really hope we don't have a week 2 show where we're talking about some awful pass interference challenge that decided a game, and there's some crazy, awful officiating and just terrible play. I hope we have I hope one of these years that we start to see the quality of the game come up a little bit.
Well, I would like to speak for Scott on my final words where I say I hope we're talking about how horrendously played the games were because then our Bengals may have a chance, Scott.
That's true, Mike. That's very true.
And since they're being coached by a 14-year-old, wonder if we'll have recess at halftime instead of halftime.
Look, I got to hear him speak at a sports tag. That guy, Zach Taylor, he did not sound like a rookie coach. I think he really know. I think he's underrated. I'm curious. I would really be interested to see if what Rob Gronkowski does, if he comes back or not. Because there's former Patriot players. They're saying he's going to play again. So I don't know.
Just
That'd be
wait till the
interesting to see.
playoffs. And I'll tell you what. You know what? There's a lot of people that are really good public speakers that can't coach football. And there's also Lloyd Carr, who was a horrible public speaker, and he couldn't coach football either. So there's a shot at Michigan for Schmitty, since he's an Ohio State fan. But I will say this: the UC Bearcats will beat Ohio State this coming weekend.
No,
they won't.
Yeah, they will.
No,
Yeah, they will.
not happening.
No, they
Zero chance. No.
Zero
No.
chance, huh? All right, so this is the deal. This is the deal. Think of it, the gayest song you could ever think of, Matt. And whatever that song is, we'll have Scott and Brian sing it on air next Tuesday night together in unison if the UC Bearcats upset the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And what
All right,
happens if?
Hey, it's Raining Men. I want you two to sing It's Raining Men.
There you
Live on air together.
You
if
might as
UC
well
beats Ohio
download the
State.
lyrics because there ain't no. UC may actually be up at the half. I don't think they're going to struggle to score against Ohio State's defense.
You think so?
I think Ohio State's defense.
What makes you
I think
think
their
that?
defense
Because
is really
of the way
good.
they shut down Florida Atlantic?
No, well, they're also their backups were playing most of the second half.
That's
that
not
was
my
a
point.
backup.
They were playing Florida Atlantic.
I think if UC can score 3 touchdowns, they can win this game. I don't know if they can do it though. I think Ohio State's offensive line's terrible, but
That is my key
they're gonna wear
because I
UC
think
out.
the Collinsworth kid is the best tackle in the game. I think UC has a better offensive line, and I think UC can get after the quarterback there. Now the question is,
I agree
can you
with
keep
that.
him under control? And then you got the stud running back too, but you got to look at the words because it's Raining Men. You guys will sing Tuesday night after the UC Bearcats win.
And
Matt,
what are
you
you
heard him
singing?
agree.
What are
I'm
you
not
singing?
singing anything. Shut
If
the
they-
hell up. It's my show. If you want to be back on, just do what you're told.
Yes, sir. You got it. Thanks, Coach.
See,
Hey,
I'm getting thrown into this. First of all, I will say this. I think it's going to be a much closer game than people
All right,
think.
so now it's just Scott that sings.
I do
I just
think
don't think
Ohio
they're
State's going to win, but I think it's going to be a close game. Here, bottom line is this: I was not impressed with Ohio State against Florida Atlantic.
I agree.
Some of that is they got out to a 28-0 lead. And one thing that I did not like, and I hope that this is just something that we're not going to see a lot of, is Urban Meyer's. That game, if an Urban Meyer coach team, that 28-0 game is usually going to be about 65 to 17. What I saw was 28-0, and I saw Ohio State, A, take the foot off the gas, and B, I did not like the play of the offensive line, and C, I was not as impressed with the defense as what some people are saying. Yes, they did play a lot of people. That's great. This is Ohio State. Urban Meyer, that game is 65-10, 65-17 because that foot is not coming off the gas.
Yeah, and
I
my
don't
other
think
thing
with
is
that
this,
offensive
Brian.
line.
If you watched against UCLA, which is supposed to be a good offense, the UC Bearcat defense, I think, ranked in the top 15 last year, and they look like they're every bit as good as that this year.
And I'm also going to say this about UC is Luke Fickell will be
Great coach.
a big-time head coach in college football.
I think
if
he
you
could be a
watched-
big-time coach at Cincinnati, Brian. I think the
I
AAC
think he
is a
can.
league that could be included in this playoff thing within the next 5 years.
I think that Luke Fickell is going to be a big-time coach wherever he's at. One thing about Luke Fickell that I liked it last year, I liked it in this game against UCLA, is you see a lot of influence that he had with Urban Meyer. Games that they don't take the foot off, and in a game like this, in a tough game like this against UCLA, they did exactly what they had to do and grinded it out. And that's something where you can see just how good of a coach he is. And, I think Ohio State's going to win this game because I am an Ohio State fan, and I always feel like from week 1 to week 2 you see an improvement. I think Ohio State will be better, but Cincinnati scares me.
Well, I'll tell you this.
This game
you go to
scares
betnow.eu, you get the Bearcats at 17 points right now.
I'd take that bet.
Yeah,
I'll take the Bearcats.
I would in a heartbeat.
Yeah, because I don't think this is a team that, All right. we're going to wrap it up. We need to do a college football show tomorrow, Brian.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. I'll give you a call after this. But, Matt, you still there? Because we're going to wrap it up now.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to get off here. I want to remind everybody you can hear us every Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Eastern, NFL Pick'em Show. Anthony Savino from the FF Faceoff will be with us for next week. We'll see who's winning. And at the end, we'll see if me and Matt are tied again. I want to remind everybody, betnow.eu, use the promo code TRUTH50 to get a 50% cash back bonus on your first deposit up to $1,000. Make sure you check them out. You can click through the Grueling Truth page also and use the promo code betnow.eu or TRUTH50 on the betnow.eu. We're going to wrap it up. You can hear all of our shows now on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify. Over 230 different ways to hear us now. So if you want to hear the Grueling Truth, all you got to do now is put it in a search bar on Google, and it'll bring it up. So we're going to wrap it up. For Brian Schmidt, Scott Wilson, Matt Andruscavage, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to the Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.